Hello everybody, and welcome to Firebrand Fables. This story is the first of many, so if you're a fan of fantasy, science fiction, and horror, then stick around, because new episodes release once every week. Before we get started, I'd like to give a special thanks to Sword Coast Soundscape for letting me use his Ambience. You can find him on YouTube, Patreon, and Bandcamp, as well as Alex Kenoyer for doing the music, and you can find him on Instagram at AlexKenoyer_. That's AlexKenoyer_. Thanks again for listening. Now let's dive into the story. April 24th, 273 of the Third Age. North Yorkshire, 40 miles off the coast. Salt water drips from the seams in the deck above, echoing quietly against the moans of the hull and the waves that shift beyond. Thin rays of sunshine cast through the loose, warped sections of wooden boards above and fill the cabin with a dim light. About 24 discolored canvas hammocks hang from the rafters within the crew quarters. In one of those hammocks lies a fair-skinned man with silver hair and blue eyes. He reaches a hand up to the right half of his collarbone and scratches at a faded scar an inch below. Pulling his hand away and resting it upon his abdomen, he closes his eyes and breathes deeply. The air feels thick inside his lungs and smells somewhat stale. As he starts idly tapping his fingers, he hears footsteps coming down the stairs at the far end of the cabin. Swaying unsteadily at the bottom of the stairs is a halfling man with golden brown hair and a light tan. Marshall? Marshall Silverblood? He takes a few stumbling steps forward, glancing from one hammock to another before falling against a pillar. As he does, a journal that had been tucked into one of the many pockets and pouches on the halfling's leather vest slips out and hits the deck with a wet slap. Whispering a curse to himself, he quickly leans down and swipes up the journal, pauses, then leans into the pillar again and stills himself. Lifting his head just above the side of the hammock, the man quickly looks the halfling up and down. We must be getting close, he thinks to himself. What is it, scribe? Oh, I'm not a scribe, sir. I'm still just a novice. Novice Glenfellow, the halfling says, his voice throaty and uneasy. Breathing deeply through his nose, jaw clenched, he closes his eyes for a moment, then shoots them open and looks at the floor while holding his stomach. The man lays his head back onto the canvas, saying, "And I'm not a knight. You can just call me Torin. We're a guild, not an army." He hears Glenfellow struggle to resist a dry heave. Right, of course. Anyway, The halfling pauses, taking another deep breath as his face turns a shade closer to green. The minister. She wants to see you. Torin sits up in his hammock with a grunt and throws his legs over the side, letting them dangle. Okay, tell her I'll be there soon. He watches the halfling shudderingly nod his head, carefully push himself off the pillar, then trudge back up the stairs. With a hop, Torin comes down from the hammock, stretches, and snatches his boots out from under it. After slipping them on, he steps over to a nearby pillar where his backpack and armor hang from hooks. A little over a minute passes as he dons the boiled, wax-finished plates of leather. Once he's ready, he gracefully walks across the cabin and up the stairs to the main deck. The blinding light of day burns his eyes as he steps out of the darkness. While giving his eyes a moment to adjust, the salty smell of ocean mist and clean air fills his nose. Once he opens his eyes again, he sees a mix of mostly dwarves, halflings, and humans rushing past him. They wander about the main deck with tasks of their own, while Torin begins weaving his way through to the captain's quarters. Pulleys creak, and the huge sails rustle in the wind as a fine spray of seawater showers the side of his face. Upon reaching the slightly warped door to the cabin, he hears a raised voice on the other side and hesitates. Out of the muffled speech, he hears a deep voice say, "Turn into the eye to left with bad luck." You guild shites never told me where you were. The voice stops abruptly as Torin twists the knob and enters. The moment he pushes the door open, he sees a mature, elvish woman sitting behind the captain's desk, and a dwarvish man facing toward her, with both hands flat on the desktop. The elf shifts her stern gaze past the dwarf to meet Torin's eyes. Her fair skin is as blue as the ocean, her green hair is held in a low bun like woven seagrass, and her eyes shine as if made of emerald. Like the halfling Glenfellow, she wears a pocketed canvas vest with journals, small scrolls, and writing utensils. Unlike him, however, the chest pad of leather armor she wears beneath it appears to be much thicker, and her long-sleeved shirt, which she has rolled up to her elbows, looks significantly finer. She gives a slight nod for Torin to step inside. When the dwarf heard the squeak of the door hinges, he looked over his shoulder with a well-worn expression of disdain upon his face. A somewhat short, bushy beard covers his jaw, and a few beads of patterned, dwarvish iron have been braided into it. He adjusts his dirtied jacket and faces the elf again. I want double. Otherwise, you guildfolk can swim back to shore and try your luck with another ship. He growls as he stares daggers at her. Unfazed, she sighs at him and replies, Captain, you signed the contract, and you've already been paid the agreed amount of gold. Our terms were clear. If you insist upon sabotaging our mission, then you're more than welcome to turn back for Littlesea. Of course, the guild will never do business with you again, and I doubt anyone of significance will buy your cargo. But it's your decision. What, you pointy-eared bit? The captain flinches and turns his head as a hand is firmly placed upon his shoulder. Standing behind him is Torin, who asks, Do we have a problem here, Captain? No, he growls, glaring at him once again. I was just leaving. With that, he pushes the hand off his shoulder and storms out of the cabin, slamming the door behind him. Pulling up a chair to his end of the desk and taking a seat, Torin says, Well, he was bound to figure it out at some point. At least he's still cooperating with us. Indeed, she says, shifting her focus back to the scouts' reports and maps laid out on the desk. The captain's tantrum aside, let's go over the plan one more time before we reach the temple. Right. As soon as we're done here, I'll go prep the crew. He gently slides one of the maps closer to his side of the desk and analyzes the detailed sketchings of a set of ruins. Glancing up, she gives a brief hum of approval, then goes right back to skimming through the report in front of her. As I told the captain before you entered, the members of our expedition face the most risk here, but I believe the level of that risk is still quite low. Your men will surround my assistants and me as we make our descent. Should something pose a threat to us, it's your responsibility to eliminate it. At the most, we may encounter a few... The cabin door swings open. Minister Barravin, Marshal Silverblood, Glenfellow calls, his voice sounding more settled now. When the two turn to look at him, they also notice the green has largely faded from his face. What is it, novice? Barravin asks. Glenfellow takes another step forward. We're about to reach the fog bank, Minister. Over his head, through the door, and past the ship's bow, lies a slow-churning wall of gray that grows larger with every passing moment. Torin looks back at her. I should go. We've already gone over the plan plenty of times. We'll be fine, he says, standing up as she glances at the pages on the desk, and then to him. All right, go. Reluctantly, Minister Barravin waves him off. She silently goes back to sifting through the documents with a frown on her face. That's it for part 1 of Eventhrone Prologue, but part 2 is available right now for free, and the entire story is available on my Patreon if you want to skip the wait and read it all for yourself. If you have any feedback for me or my stories, please leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thanks for checking in, everyone. Peace.